Anytime your temperature goes beyond your normal, that's when your body starts to kind of give you triggers to say, no, please slow down, please slow down.
Normally our body starts sweating to get rid of this excess heat. And another very important strategy is it stops working. It slows down its metabolism and the metabolic rate.
Then you reduce your pace of work. That's when your productivity goes down.
In some cases, people are allowed to stop or take breaks or slow down. But in some cases, people are not allowed to do that, which can create some dangerous conditions for them.
When you continue working, your body temperature starts to rise beyond the 38.5, 39.5, 40. It means you're working in a state of fever. That's when your brain stops to send signals, and then that is exactly why the confusion comes, the delirium comes. When it reaches 42, you're heading towards heat stroke.
People who don't have a high level of fitness, also people who have a high body fat, who are overweight, are more likely to be at risk. Maybe if they had flu the days before, an infection, or they had several consecutive days of intense work in the heat, they are a lot more likely to have an event.
What usually happens when a person is chronically exposed to heavy workload, heat stress, you will end up having a low kidney function, which is like the first starting stage for kidney disease. There are so many people now getting kidney disease. For example, India, it's number 4 disease. In US, it's number 3 right now. Indonesia, number 2. Kidney disease are like on the rise. There might be many reasons, but one of the reasons that we see for workers who are working in heat, especially with manual work, the numbers are rising like disproportionately.
Just the last 2 summers have been kind of catastrophic. Hundreds of workers have died in the summer of outright heat stroke. And that's just unacceptable.
En Chichigalpa dependemos mucho del Ingenio San Antonio. Cuando yo tenía 10 años, mi papá ya estaba enfermo. Y eso me obligó a yo tener que trabajar desde una edad muy temprana para poder aportar a la economía de la familia. No había ningún tipo de protección. Cada 2, 3 días escuchábamos que falleció una persona por la enfermedad renal.
Solo 2 estamos vivos. Sí, de 16 estamos solo 2 vivos, el resto murieron, la mayoría. Y hay como 3 compañeros todavía que yo a veces me logro ver con ellos y andan con hemodiálisis.
Ingenio San Antonio and Light Diesel Network did not get along very well up until 2017. So Ingenio San Antonio came to us at an inflection point.
Creímos que también necesitábamos que abrir un poco las puertas, empezar a trabajar más con expertos para que nos ayudaran a entender que habían oportunidades de mejora.
We entered the scene to both be researchers and advocates, get good data, get unbiased data, understand what's going on, and build protections for people. What it provided was a platform called the Adelante initiative to protect workers and to do it systematically, to do it scientifically, and to scale what we do here elsewhere.
Actualmente los casos son menores porque en el Ingenio San Antonio ya existe un programa, que es el programa Adelante, que eso ha ayudado tanto al trabajador directamente, pero indirectamente también a las comunidades, porque ha disminuido los casos renales, ha disminuido la tasa de mortalidad, ha garantizado que los trabajadores tengan mejores ingresos. Son uno de los beneficios que tiene el programa Adelante.
Tengo 12 años de trabajar en el ingenio y año con año las prácticas laborales han ido mejorando poco a poco. Trabajar con la isla y el grupo de expertos nos ayudó a entender más el origen de la enfermedad y de implementar una práctica bien hecha, pero al mismo tiempo una práctica que sea evaluada científicamente para nosotros poder entender si la práctica realmente es efectiva o no es efectiva. Eso ha sido grandioso porque saber que un trabajador descansa 20 minutos durante una hora de trabajo y saber que la temperatura puede bajar de 37.8 grados a 36.5 grados, eso es fabuloso para nosotros.
We've set up a program called PREP. It's Prevention, Resilience, Efficiency, and Protection. The prevention aspect is really conceptually simple. It entails shade and mandated breaks under that shade, provision of water and hydration fluid, and then also sanitation, especially when you have female workers and you're telling them to drink more.
The plan started working December 2018, and all the workers have to drink this water. So nobody can bring water from the communities.
The resilience aspect is really looking at how the intervention affects the viability of a company and what the impact is on households, communities, and health systems that are tackling the issue. The efficiency part is really about making it viable for the company and for the worker. So that's kind of like how much they cut per day. Is the company getting a return on investment? The answer is yes.
Empezamos a medir a lo largo de 6-7 años la productividad de los trabajadores y nos dimos cuenta que ellos pasaron de cortar 0.9 toneladas en una hora de trabajo a 1.1 toneladas en una hora de trabajo, a pesar de tener 20 minutos de descanso en una hora. Al mismo tiempo, reducir el número de incidentes en el trabajo, accidentes o problemas de estrés térmico, reduce los gastos hospitalarios, también reduce las ausencias al trabajo, y eso es un retorno importante en la inversión que hacemos en seguridad y salud de los trabajadores.
Cambió totalmente el ingenio San Antonio y el trabajador ha sentido esa protección que actualmente sí le está dando. Un cortador de caña de la actualidad sale de sus casas a las 4:30, pero después de las 12 del mediodía no puede seguir trabajando. Entonces el trabajador se siente protegido.
The last P is really about policy change on the private level. How does the company conduct themselves? What are their internal policies? Policy in the market through certification systems like fair trade and Bon Sucro, and we've introduced the first measures to protect people from this disease and from heat stress in those certifications, so that's a huge step forward. And policy on the UN level, the governmental level, and trade deals.
Hoy por hoy creemos que el ingenio San Antonio se ha convertido en un modelo a seguir y hemos ayudado a muchos ingenios en Centroamérica y México para poder mostrarles nuestra experiencia y que ellos también puedan implementar buenas prácticas para proteger a sus trabajadores manuales.
Usar los lentes, polaina, los guantes, su gorro y siempre recordándole el descanso cada hora que nos tolde.
Al pasar de los años, la educación y la promoción de la salud hace que hoy en día las personas hayan cambiado mucho sus costumbres y hábitos. Y hoy por hoy no necesitamos estarles diciendo cada hora es hora de descanso o es hora de tomar agua. La isla y el ingenio estábamos en aceras distintas, teníamos diferencias. Al conocernos y empezar a trabajar juntos y darnos cuenta que ambos podíamos hacer algo distinto, creo que también eso ha sido un ejemplo para el mundo entero.
We brought some leaders from around the world to see what we've done here, to have an exchange and understand how do we move forward. How can we export what we've learned here back there? How do we systemize what we've done?
here in Nicaragua is like seeing the future of Europe. We know that things at the end of the century, maybe even sooner, in Europe will be a lot more like Nicaragua is today. So one of the main reasons why I was here is to see, first of all, the environment and how people cope with it. People with means to protect themselves, who can self-pace or they can buy equipment that can help them, but also, and even more importantly, people who don't have the means to do that. How do they cope? Can they cope? And if they can, what are the strategies that they use to do that? Interestingly enough, here in Nicaragua, they're ahead of us in Europe on implementation research and interventions to help workers. We have done a lot of work on assessment, but we haven't done a lot of work on feasibility studies or interventions, seeing what works, what doesn't work. So we have a lot to learn from the work that has been done here, and I'm hoping to take some of it back in Europe. They've created some very smart, simple tools here that we can definitely adopt.
One of the reasons I'm currently in Nicaragua is to see what interventions are being done in the sugar mill and how the workers are benefited because of that, and work with other heat researchers and what they have done in their respective countries, and all of us put our minds together to see what is the best and optimized way that we can implement it in our own countries. And this cross-pollination of ideas between our countries is very important as well.
Why is it that at Ingenio San Antonio, in Nicaragua, we have better work protections for those field workers than any farm in the United States of America that's facing similar heat stress? And that also holds in Europe. So there's this bias we have of thinking, oh, we're Europeans or Americans, we surely have better protections for our workforce, but it's not true at all. So one of my midterm objectives is to import what we've done in Nicaragua back home. The goal now is to scale this to other formalized sectors like gold mines, construction sites, and other places we've seen this all around the world, but also into the informal sector. So things like brick makers and salt pan workers. So we can expand the effort globally and really prepare the next generation with a playbook that they will build on.
What I'm hoping to do is to lobby for legislation. We need to adopt legislation now. We have the data. A few decades ago, maybe you could say that the evidence is not there. But now the evidence is there, and it's time to move to legislation. We need to be prepared. You don't need to have people dying and then create guidelines and then create strategies. You need to have them in place before it happens.